Have you ever been hanging out with some friends and, everyone's just catching up and someone brings up money
Oh, yeah.
and everyone else is like, oh, yeah, yeah, tell me about that. And you're sitting there like,
Right.
well, how much are we going to talk about this?
Yeah.
Should I mention my thing or is it,
Is it too much?
yeah,
Yeah.
like how personal is this going to get?
Right.
I think a lot of people have that experience where they're like,
Absolutely.
is this okay to talk about with my friends?
Mm-hmm.
So let's dive into this whole thing about like, why is money so awkward
Right.
to talk about with your friends?
Yeah.
And I guess like one of the first things is just like cultural differences and
Exactly.
like how different places look at money differently.
Totally. Some cultures are really open about talking about money. Like, it's no big deal.
Yeah.
And then other cultures, it's like completely taboo. You just don't talk about it. And there's probably a lot of reasons for that. I mean, maybe it has something to do with ideas about like privacy or social harmony, Like
Yeah.
in some cultures, if you're really transparent about your finances, it can build trust, kind of like create this sense of like collective responsibility. But then in other cultures, talking about how much money you have is seen as like boastful,
Yeah.
nosy even,
Right.
like you're prying.
Like that's not your business.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think even beyond that, like the historical economic context of a place can play a part.
Yeah, for sure.
Like if a culture has experienced a lot of economic hardship, it might make sense that people are more guarded
Yeah.
when they talk about money.
Like to protect themselves.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
To avoid like envy or resentment.
Yeah.
So yeah, culture is definitely a big factor.
But even within one culture,
Mhm.
I think it can be really different. Like it really depends who you're talking to. Right.
Sure.
It's not as simple as just,
Saying, oh, in America, no one talks about money.
yeah, yeah,
Like, it really depends on the specific relationship.
definitely.
Like, I can't imagine just being like, hey, how much money do you make?
Yeah.
To, like, someone,
To a random person on the street.
yeah, or even, like, an acquaintance.
Mm.
Necessarily, but, like, with a close friend, it might be different. So it really comes down to, like, the context.
Absolutely. Context is key. Like imagine talking about investing
Right.
with a friend who's, really struggling financially.
Yeah.
That could be super awkward.
Yeah, it'd be like, what are you even talking about right now?
Totally
So
insensitive.
you read the room.
Yeah, exactly. And even if your friend isn't struggling, maybe they're just not that interested in finances or they have different financial goals than you do.
Yeah.
It's really important to be sensitive to that. And also, I think the level of trust you have with someone makes a difference.
Like, if you have a really strong, trusting relationship, those money conversations can be super productive.
Yeah.
Because you can be honest with each other.
Yeah.
And you're both coming from a good place.
And you know that they're not going to judge you
Exactly.
or anything like that.
Yeah, yeah. And you're not going to feel like you have to, like, put on a show. Like, look how well I'm doing. It can just be a genuine exchange of information and support.
Yeah. So it's not just like where you're from or what culture you're in,
Right.
but it's also like,
It's the specific situation.
exactly.
Who you're with. What the vibe is.
Totally.
Natural.
And I think that kind of leads into this other point, which is like, even if the context is right,
Right.
and you have a good relationship with someone,
Yeah.
it's like, how are you talking about money?
Totally. It's all about the approach.
Yeah.
Like, are you genuinely trying to share knowledge and help each other out? Or are you just trying to show off?
Right.
Like bragging about how much money you make or how much you're investing.
And that makes a huge difference.
Huge difference. Like, think about it. If your friend is telling you about this amazing budgeting app they found
Yeah.
that's actually helping them save money, that's super helpful, right?
Yeah.
Like, you might actually want to try it out yourself.
Yeah. You're like, tell me more. I want to know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if they're going on and on about how much their investments have grown,
Yeah.
it can feel kind of icky.
Yeah, it can. It's like, okay, good for you.
Right.
I'm happy for you.
Yeah.
But also,
Not that interesting.
yeah. And I think part of that is that we're all like comparing ourselves to other people.
Constantly.
And it can be really hard to hear about someone else's financial success
Yeah.
without feeling like, oh, I should be doing that too.
Right. And then you start to feel inadequate, like you're not doing enough.
Exactly.
And that's where those feelings of judgment and comparison come in. It's like this natural human tendency to measure ourselves against others. And money is like the ultimate measuring stick.
Totally. Like, are you winning?
Yeah.
Are you keeping up with the Joneses?
Yeah. Are you better than me?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
And that kind of competitive mindset can really ruin a good friendship.
Yeah.
So it's important to be aware of that.
Yeah. It can be tough, right?
It is tough.
Because on the one hand, we want to be happy for our friends
Yeah.
when they're doing well.
Absolutely.
But on the other hand, it's hard not to feel a little bit,
A little twinge of envy.
yeah, maybe a little envious or even a little bit insecure about our own situation.
Like, why am I not doing that?
Yeah.
What am I doing wrong?
Exactly. But I think that's where those mindful conversations come in.
Totally.
Like, if you can be open with your friends about those feelings and
Yeah.
have those honest conversations.
It can actually be really helpful.
Absolutely. Like, imagine you're talking to a friend
Yeah.
and they mention this awesome saving strategy they've been using, one that you've never even heard of. That's super valuable, right?
Absolutely.
Like, you've just learned something new that could actually benefit you financially.
Yeah.
Or maybe you're both interested in investing
Mm.
and you can share tips and resources.
Yeah.
And even learn about new investment opportunities together.
Yeah.
It's like turning those money conversations into opportunities for shared learning
Right.
instead of competition.
Exactly. So it's not all bad.
Definitely not.
Like, there are definitely some good things
For sure.
that can come out of talking about money with friends.
Absolutely. Like, you can learn from each other's experiences.
Yeah.
You can get support and encouragement. And you can even hold each other accountable.
Right.
Like, if you have a shared financial goal, you can check in with each other.
Yeah.
And make sure you're both staying on track.
Yeah. So I guess the key is to, like, find that balance.
Totally. It's all about balance.
Like, how can we be open and honest
Right.
without making it weird or competitive?
Exactly. And there's no magic formula. It really depends on the relationship and the situation.
Yeah.
But I think some things that can help are, like, being mindful of your audience.
Right.
Like, are you talking to a close friend who you know is comfortable with money talk? Or are you in a larger group where it might be more appropriate to keep things light?
Yeah.
Also, I think it's helpful to explain your financial choices in context.
What do you mean by that?
Like, if you're talking about investing, you could say something like, I'm really fortunate to be in a position where I can invest right now, and here's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
That way, you're acknowledging your privilege
Right.
and not making assumptions about your friend's financial situation.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah. And I think most importantly, just be respectful of boundaries. Like, if your friend seems uncomfortable talking about money, don't push it.
You know?
Just change the subject.
Yeah.
It's not worth jeopardizing your friendship.
Totally. So ultimately, it's all about being mindful,
Yeah.
respectful, and focusing on connection,
Mm-hmm.
not comparison.
Exactly. And I think if you can do that, those money conversations can actually be really positive
Yeah.
and enriching.
So it doesn't have to be awkward to talk about money with your friends.
It doesn't have to be.
Like, you can have good conversations about it
Totally.
as long as you're doing it the right way.
For sure.
Being mindful of your audience, being sensitive to their situation, and remembering that you're there to support each other,
Exactly.
not to judge or compete.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So next time you're hanging out with your friends
Yeah.
and money comes up,
Right.
just take a minute to think about what your intention is and how you can make it a positive experience for everyone.
Yeah. Good advice.
This has been really eye-opening. I think I'm going to go have some of these conversations with my friends now
I hope you do.
and see what happens. Thanks for joining us.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
And we'll see you next time.
See you then. Bye.
Bye.